The Zephyrian miscalculation. The observation probe from the Zephyrian Empire drifted silently through the outer reaches of the Sol system, its sensors drinking in every detail of the blue-green world that orbited third from its star. Commander Theron stood before the vast viewing screen of his scout vessel, his forearms crossed in contemplation as he studied the data streams flowing across multiple displays. The planet called Earth spun peacefully in the void, seemingly unaware that it had just been marked for conquest by one of the galaxy's most aggressive empires. Theron's violet eyes narrowed as he analyzed the defensive capabilities of this newfound species. The humans, as they called themselves, possessed basic spaceflight technology and maintained a modest presence throughout their solar system. Mining stations dotted the asteroid belt. Research outposts clung to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and a handful of military vessels patrolled the space between worlds. To the commander's experienced gaze, it all appeared woefully inadequate against the might of the Zephyrian war machine. The scout ship's artificial intelligence compiled its final assessment, projecting holographic models of human vessels alongside Zephyrian warships for comparison. The difference was almost laughable. Where Zephyrian battlecruisers bristled with plasma cannons and neutron torpedoes, the human ships carried primitive laser weapons and kinetic projectiles. Their hull plating appeared to be simple titanium alloy, lacking even basic energy shielding. Theron transmitted his findings back to the Empire's capital world of Zephyr Prime, confident that this conquest would be swift and decisive. Emperor Kale received Commander Theron's report in his crystalline throne room, surrounded by his war council. The massive chamber echoed with the excited chittering of military advisors as they reviewed the reconnaissance data. The humans represented an ideal target for expansion. Their world was rich in resources, their population numerous enough to serve as a useful labor force, and their technology primitive enough to pose no real threat. Admiral Zorax, Supreme Commander of the Empire's Third Battle Fleet, stepped forward with barely contained enthusiasm. The Admiral's reputation for ruthless efficiency had been earned through the conquest of 17 different star systems. He studied the tactical projections with the eye of a predator sizing up prey. The human defensive positions were scattered and uncoordinated. Their communication systems relied on outdated electromagnetic signals, and their ships moved with the sluggish grace of vessels still dependent on chemical propulsion for maneuvering. Zorax requested and received immediate authorization to lead the invasion force, promising the Emperor that Earth would fall within a single rotation of Zephyr Prime's binary suns. Meanwhile, in a bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chen stood before a wall of monitors that displayed a very different picture of Earth's defenses. The Zephyrian scout ship had been detected the moment it entered the solar system, its every movement tracked by sensors far more sophisticated than anything the aliens had detected. Chen had spent 15 years preparing for this moment, ever since humanity's deep space listening posts had first intercepted Zephyrian military transmissions from distant conquered worlds. The general turned to her staff, a carefully selected team of humanity's brightest military minds. They had all trained for this scenario countless times in simulations and war games. The plan they had developed was audacious in its simplicity. Let the enemy see exactly what they expected to see. Show them aging patrol vessels running on fusion reactors, mining ships with minimal armament and orbital stations that appeared to be sitting ducks. Hide the real fleet in the electromagnetic shadow of Jupiter, wrapped in stealth fields that bent light and radiation around them like water flowing around a stone. Colonel David Park coordinated the deception from his station, ensuring that every piece of false intelligence was perfectly placed for Zephyrian sensors to discover. Outdated military communications were broadcast on easily intercepted channels, discussing shortages of weapons and concerns about defensive readiness. Patrol ships deliberately exposed their engine signatures, showing power outputs that suggested technology decades behind Zephyrian standards. Even the orbital defense platforms around Earth were carefully disguised to appear as simple missile batteries rather than the sophisticated directed energy weapons they actually housed. The human colony on Mars played its part perfectly, broadcasting distress signals about technical failures and requesting assistance from Earth's supposedly stretched military forces. Mining vessels in the asteroid belt reported pirate activity that drew patrol ships away from Earth in apparent response to emergencies. Every movement was choreographed to reinforce the image of a civilization barely holding together its space-based infrastructure completely unprepared for an invasion from a superior force. 3 months after Commander Theron's initial reconnaissance, the Zephyrian invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Zorax commanded 47 warships, each one a masterpiece of destructive engineering. The flagship alone carried enough firepower to reduce a moon to rubble, its hull adorned with the emblems of conquered civilizations. The admiral stood on his command deck, watching as his fleet moved into attack formation with practiced precision. The human response seemed almost pitiful in comparison. 12 ships emerged from Earth's orbital space, their engines straining as they moved to intercept the invaders. General Chen watched from her command center as Captain Lisa Wang led the decoy fleet, her ship broadcasting urgent messages calling for all available vessels to join the defense. The transmissions were carefully crafted to sound desperate but determined, the kind of brave last stand that would confirm every assumption the Zephyrians had made about human capabilities. Captain Wang played her role masterfully, positioning her ships in a defensive line that looked impressive from a distance, but was actually designed to appear vulnerable to flanking maneuvers. Her vessels fired their weapons in spectacular but ineffective displays, their lasers scattering harmlessly against Zephyrian shields, while kinetic rounds were easily deflected by point defense systems. To Admiral Zorax, it looked exactly like what he had expected, a primitive civilization throwing everything they had against an unstoppable force. The Zephyrian fleet advanced steadily through the solar system, brushing aside the human defenders like insects. They passed Mars without incident, the colony there broadcasting surrender messages that Zorax ignored. The asteroid belt mining stations went dark as the invasion fleet approached, their crews apparently fleeing in terror. Every sign pointed to a civilization in collapse, unable to mount any meaningful resistance against the Empire's might. As the Zephyrian fleet passed Jupiter, Admiral Zorax allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The conquest was proceeding even more smoothly than anticipated. His sensors showed the remaining human ships retreating toward Earth, their formations breaking apart in apparent panic. Several vessels showed signs of critical damage, venting atmosphere and trailing debris. The admiral ordered his fleet to accelerate, eager to claim Earth before any of the human ships could escape to warn other systems. Behind Jupiter's massive bulk, hidden in the planet's magnetosphere and invisible to Zephyrian sensors, Admiral Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of humanity's true flagship. Around him, 400 state-of-the-art warships waited in perfect silence, their crews ready at battle stations. These vessels represented 20 years of secret construction, built in hidden shipyards throughout the outer solar system. Each ship incorporated technology reverse-engineered, from captured alien probes and enhanced with humanity's own innovations. Rodriguez watched the tactical display as the Zephyrian fleet moved deeper into the trap. The enemy had taken the bait completely, their formations spreading out as they pursued the fleeing decoy ships. They were exactly where General Chen's plan had predicted they would be, overconfident and unprepared for what was about to unfold. The admiral's hand moved to the communication console, ready to give the order that would reveal humanity's true power to the unsuspecting invaders. Humanity's true power revealed. The moment Admiral Rodriguez gave the signal, space itself seemed to come alive around the Zephyrian fleet. 400 human warships deactivated their stealth systems simultaneously, appearing as if materialized from the void itself. The sudden appearance of such a massive force sent waves of panic through the Zephyrian formations. Admiral Zorax stared at his tactical displays in disbelief as enemy contacts multiplied across every screen, surrounding his fleet in a perfect sphere of destruction. The human ships were nothing like the outdated vessels the Zephyrians had been fighting. These were sleek predators built for war, their hulls shimmering with advanced energy shields that distorted space around them. Each vessel bristled with weapons that Zorax's sensors couldn't even properly identify. Graviton beam projectors, antimatter torpedo tubes, and quantum destabilization arrays represented technology that shouldn't have been possible for a species the Empire had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Rodriguez opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship, his voice calm and controlled, despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. His image appeared on Zorax's main screen, a middle-aged human with steel-gray hair and eyes that held no fear. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship hummed with quiet efficiency as crew members coordinated the movements of the massive human fleet. Rodriguez spoke in perfect Zephyrian, having learned the language from intercepted transmissions over the years. The Admiral's message was simple and direct. The Zephyrian fleet was surrounded and outgunned. Surrender was their only option. Any aggressive action would result in the complete annihilation of the invasion force. To emphasize his point, Rodriguez ordered a demonstration. A single human destroyer fired one of its graviton beams at a small asteroid floating nearby. The asteroid didn't explode. Instead, it collapsed in on itself, compressed by artificial gravity into a sphere no larger than a marble before disappearing entirely. Zorax felt something he had never experienced in his long military career. Fear. The weapon he had just witnessed could crush his flagship like paper. His tactical officers were reporting that every human ship was equipped with similar armaments. Worse still, their shields were operating on principles the Zephyrian scientists couldn't even understand, bending the fundamental forces of reality to create impenetrable barriers around each vessel. General Chen appeared on another screen. Broadcasting from Earth's command center, she explained how humanity had been preparing for this moment for 2 decades. Every piece of intelligence the Zephyrians had gathered had been carefully planted. The outdated ships, the weak defenses, the scattered colonies, all of it had been an elaborate deception designed to draw the Empire into a trap. Earth's real military infrastructure was hidden throughout the solar system, protected by technology that made it invisible to conventional sensors. The general revealed that humanity had been monitoring Zephyrian communications for years, learning about their tactics, their technology, and their empire. They knew about every world the Zephyrians had conquered, every species they had enslaved. Earth scientists had studied captured Zephyrian probes, reverse engineering their technology and improving upon it. Where the Empire had grown complacent in their superiority, humanity had innovated and adapted, creating weapons specifically designed to counter Zephyrian defenses. Captain Wang's decoy fleet suddenly transformed before Zorax's eyes. The ships that had appeared damaged and fleeing activated hidden systems, their true capabilities revealing themselves. The outdated fusion reactors were actually covers for zero-point energy generators that produced power levels that dwarfed anything in the Zephyrian fleet. The simple titanium hull plating shifted and reconfigured, revealing adaptive armor that could alter its molecular structure to resist any form of attack. The 12 ships that had seemed so pathetic moments before now moved with impossible speed and precision, their weapons charging with energies that made space itself ripple around them. Captain Wang's voice joined the communication, explaining that even Earth's decoy fleet could have destroyed the Zephyrian invasion force. The 400 ships surrounding them were simply insurance, a message to the Empire and any other aggressive species monitoring the situation. Admiral Zorax requested permission to communicate with his Emperor, but Rodriguez informed him that wasn't necessary. Humanity had already sent a message directly to Zephyr Prime using the Empire's own quantum communication network, which Earth's hackers had infiltrated months ago. The message was being broadcast on every Zephyrian military and civilian channel simultaneously. It showed the complete recording of the invasion fleet's humiliation, along with a warning to the Empire and any other hostile civilizations. The message was clear. Earth was not the easy target it appeared to be. Humanity possessed weapons that could sterilize entire star systems if threatened. They had faster-than-light technology that surpassed anything the Zephyrians had developed. Most importantly, they had the will to use these capabilities if forced to defend themselves. The broadcast included footage of human fleets stationed near several Zephyrian colony worlds, ships that had been there for months without being detected. Emperor Kale watched in horror from his throne room as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't just defeated his invasion fleet. They had demonstrated that they could strike at the heart of his empire whenever they chose. The human ships near Zephyrian colonies powered up their weapons in a synchronized display of force, though they didn't fire. The message was unmistakable. Earth could end the Zephyrian Empire in minutes if provoked. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Rodriguez offered Zorax 2 choices. The Zephyrian fleet could surrender peacefully and be escorted back to their territory, with a treaty ensuring mutual non-aggression, or they could fight and be destroyed. There would be no third option. The human admiral gave Zorax 5 minutes to decide, though everyone present knew the choice had already been made. Fighting would be suicide. Zorax's pride warred with his survival instinct, but pragmatism won. He ordered his fleet to power down weapons and lower shields. The surrender was formal and unconditional. Human boarding parties secured each Zephyrian vessel, though they treated the crews with surprising respect. No one was harmed, no technology was stolen. Humanity was making another statement. They were not conquerors like the Zephyrians. They were defenders who had chosen mercy over vengeance. General Chen coordinated the diplomatic aftermath from Earth. Representatives from dozens of species that had been conquered or threatened by the Zephyrian Empire began reaching out to humanity, seeking alliances and protection. The general staff worked around the clock to establish new treaties and defense agreements. Earth had suddenly become the dominant military power in the local galactic region, a position they had never sought but were prepared to accept. The Zephyrian fleet was escorted to the edge of the solar system under heavy guard. Admiral Zorax was allowed to send one final message to his emperor, confirming the terms of the non-aggression treaty. The Empire would withdraw from 17 recently conquered systems and cease all expansion efforts. In return, humanity would not retaliate for the attempted invasion. It was a generous offer, one that Emperor Kale accepted immediately. As the Zephyrian ships entered hyperspace and disappeared from human sensors, Admiral Rodriguez stood on his bridge, surrounded by his officers. They had won without firing a single shot in anger, achieving victory through preparation, deception, and technological superiority. The Admiral knew this was only the beginning. Other threats would emerge, other empires would test humanity's resolve. But Earth had sent a clear message to the galaxy. General Chen addressed the people of Earth from the command center, her image broadcast to every screen on the planet and throughout the colonies. She spoke of humanity's strength, not just in weapons and technology, but in unity and determination. The species that had once warred among themselves had come together to face a common threat. They had pooled their resources, their knowledge, and their courage to create a defense that no empire could overcome. The weeks that followed saw a fundamental shift in galactic politics. Species that had hidden in fear of the Zephyrian Empire emerged to establish contact with Earth. Trade agreements were signed, cultural exchanges began, and a new alliance started to form with humanity at its center, not as conquerors or rulers, but as protectors and partners. Earth's true fleet returned to their hidden bases, ready to emerge again if needed. Captain Wong received a hero's welcome when she returned to Earth, though she deflected praise to her crew and the thousands of people who had made the deception possible. In interviews, she spoke about the months of training required to make their ships appear weak and damaged, the careful coordination needed to sell the illusion of desperation. Every member of the decoy fleet had risked their lives to maintain the facade, knowing that one mistake could have revealed the truth too early. The Zephyrian Empire entered a period of introspection and reform. Admiral Zorax was not punished for his failure, but was instead tasked with restructuring the Empire's military doctrine. The assumption of superiority that had guided their conquest for centuries had been shattered. They began to approach other species with diplomacy rather than force, finding that cooperation yielded better results than subjugation. 6 months after the failed invasion, Earth hosted the first Galactic Peace Summit. Representatives from 43 different species gathered to establish new laws for interstellar conduct. Humanity's position as mediator was accepted by all parties, their combination of strength and restraint earning respect throughout the galaxy. The summit established protocols for first contact, rules for territorial disputes, and consequences for unprovoked aggression. As the summit concluded, General Chen and Admiral Rodriguez stood together looking up at the stars through the transparent dome of the conference center. They knew that humanity's journey into the galactic community had only just begun. There would be challenges ahead, new threats to face, and difficult decisions to make. But Earth had proven that it could stand among the stars as an equal to any power in the galaxy. The Empire had discovered too late that humanity's true strength had never been on display. And that revelation had changed everything.